Is Monette, and this is my channel, Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here today, I'm a professional intuitive empath, and I want to jump right into the title of the video. Divine Feminine, do not be so afraid that you're going to lose them, that you lose you. Let's talk about it. How many of us have been in relationships with people? It doesn't matter whether it's platonic or romantic, and we have placed a higher value on them than we did on ourselves. And that means that we had fear of losing the relationship with them. And that means that if the treatment was bad or their behavior was piss poor, that we were dealing with that. And guys, pardon me if you hear wheezing. I would highly recommend, if especially if you listen to my last video, speed it up, and then you won't have to hear all of my wheezing. I am visiting with friends and they have a cat, and I am like wildly allergic to cats, so I can't breathe, and so that's just my little thing. So anyway, let's talk about that. Maybe that's part of what I'm supposed to be teaching you today, is about whether you can breathe, whether you're suffocating in a situation. Sometimes we'll forego that because we're kind of like the triathletes rather, of relationships. We will like do grueling runs with people where they're not reciprocating, where they're not giving back, where they're not doing any of the work or putting in even a modicum of the effort that we're doing. And then we're like, oh my goodness, how can I let this come to a ruin? Meaning, how can this come to an end? Did I ruin the relationship by exactly by nothing? No, you didn't ruin the relationship. And if anything, overgiving caused an imbalance that took you off kilter and put you in a position of having to deal with people that were not valuing you. And so many people after a divorce that I counsel, or after they get out of a long term relationship, or after they realize that a friendship, even if it's platonic, just never was balanced and someone didn't have loyalty to them, they're like, how did I end up here? And how did I lose myself? That's something women often do. It's something I hear a lot with women. Men do it too, but I counsel women. You guys are my priority. And I will tell you that this is a real thing that happens to us. We lose ourselves in these relationships. And at some point in our life, we have done it. Everyone has had that moment where you're giving so much to something and someone that is not reciprocal and not giving back the same thing for you. And so it's something that you can no longer do. And what it looks like is you stop taking care of yourself. So your self care depletes. That's one of the great tells. You're no longer doing the lovely things, your nail, your hair, your whatever, your nails, your hair, whatever you do. A good bath for yourself, taking care of you. There are a lot of things that will get you off your path. And it's really interesting because you will feel like it happens and it's very insidious. You will feel like, I didn't even notice it happen. I didn't even notice that I maybe gained this weight, or I didn't notice that I no longer felt so great or looked so great, or that I wasn't taking care of myself. This is something that can happen too with parenting. So we can lose ourselves, in any role that we have where we overgive and then we start to feel bad. And what I'm telling you guys is that it's okay for you to find yourself again. And it's okay for you to have this moment and to make a decision to pivot. We all get there. We all have been here. We all have given so much care to someone else that we forgot who we are, or who we were. I know in my life, when I got so out of balance in a connection, I had to leave it. That's the only way that I could fix it, was to retreat from it. I could no longer be around that person because I was a badass, truly. And there are things that I love to do, a way that I behave, and I had shrunk myself to make someone who was so uncomfortable in their skin comfortable with me. And that's the way that we can never be. Think about that. Think about the insanity of that. Someone who was insecure, who was a follower, someone who was immature, someone who went along with the crowd, someone who had no backbone, someone who had no pride. They were never proud, not of themselves or anything they did, and they certainly weren't proud of me. Someone who couldn't edify me, someone who didn't lift me up, someone who was incapable of filling my cup, and I shrunk and shrunk myself and started to believe that I wasn't enough. And it wasn't until I got out of the energy, the wake, the thrall, the negativity of that person's energy, because our energy, just like our auric field, goes out before us. So I was around that person And you know, they say be careful of the company you keep. You will start to believe that you are your company, right? Birds of a feather and all that jazz. And so I started to not love myself, and I started to be down bad, and I started to treat myself badly, and treating myself badly was staying in that relationship with someone who didn't value me. They didn't even value them. They don't even like who they are, no matter what posturing they did do. But it was easy to point at me and say, the problem is you. And I started to pick me apart too. Message. Can you guys relate to picking yourself apart and thinking that you weren't great when all you did was offer greatness in your own way, but you gave and gave and gave it all away? And then one day you look back at yourself and you say, I have nothing left. I let somebody who didn't like themselves become my reflection, and it wasn't true. And it's something that if you listen to this, I don't want you to do. Love who you are, embrace who you are. That reflection isn't you, it might be them. When I divested from the energy, the world came in great swooping thralls to edify me. Let's talk about that. Every single thing that I wanted. You know, the Bible said God will restore the years that the locusts have eaten. I got everything back. I got validation. I got offers. I had financial abundance. So many things in my life shifted and changed in the best of ways as soon as I stopped spending all of my days with someone who was actually depressed and someone who was completely turned in on themselves. And that's what depression is, right? It's rage turned inward. And I was turning it in on me. I gave so much that I lost my sanity. And when I got away from that person, I realized it wasn't all their fault. We all have our work to do. I had to do my shadow work. They weren't willing to. And so I was doing their shadow work for them too. I was figuring out the answers to their problems. I was solving the problems. You guys have, I told you I'm on location, and I'm staying with a friend who has animals, and the dog's no issue for me. It's the cats, truly, which is so funny because I'm a Leo, but I like have an aversion. Me and cats stay like far away from each other. No offense if you're a cat person. It's just I literally can't breathe. So what's so funny is we were doing an escape room, and that's why I'm staying away. But we did an escape room as one of the things, and like I want to be honest with you guys, I wasn't interested. It was something that her daughter picked out, and it was so funny. Her daughter's bestie and me share similar energy, and we were like, both of us were like, "Girl, we don't even want to do this." Like, it was so funny. We were both like, "We are not even trying to even do this, really," and it was hilarious because we ended up loving it. It's so funny. I was really like, my body wasn't cooperating. You guys know I'm recovering from some stuff, and I was like, "Am I even going to get through this, Jesus?" Anyway, they picked out a paranormal escape room. There must be a reason I'm telling you this story. They picked out a paranormal escape room, and we started. Oh, it's figuring out puzzles. That's what it is. And it was a really cool one. And anyway, it was haunted, and we had to help this like little haunted girl like get out, and it was really really fun. It wasn't just we were in one room. We went through multiple little chambers and climbed under beds, and things lit up, and there was like jump scares and illuminated things and smoke and all types of stuff, and things lit up, and it was dark, and it was interesting. And we were in there with another family, and I got to watch people take care of a little kid who she was like maybe 11 or 12, but she was really actually scared by the holographic image that came up when it was time to like when like Emma would appear like in mirrors and stuff and talk to us, and she genuinely was. It was pretty realistic, I will say, but it was a really cool thing, and it was fun to play. But we figured out a way out. We got out. We actually did the escape room. We were like down to like a few minutes, and we were not thinking we were going to do it, and we all like pitched in, and everybody had a part to play. But here's what I want to say about that is there's a puzzle. It was a situation of like team building and like figuring out things, and also maybe trying something new in relationships where you're doing all the work for someone else, then they can never help you. And the powerful thing that I learned in that escape room is each single person in there had a part to play. And again, I went in there like my my daughter's my dad. I keep saying my daughter, my dad. That's so Freudian. That's so weird. My bestie's daughter, her bestie was like literally not interested to play. And these are with problem solvers. My bestie's daughter is a doctor, and so is her best friend, both physicians. And so they figure out puzzles every day. But we were both looking at each other and we were like, girl, not today. But here's what happened. Each one of us had a part to play. That's what any good, healthy relationship will be. So there was four of us, and there was three on the other team, and all of us, all seven of us, contributed one thing. One of us placed the dollhouses in a certain way to figure out the puzzle. The little girl that was with us in there, that was on the other team, did the hopscotch jump that literally did a jump scare and popped open locks. It was so cool, guys. I really enjoyed it. I hope you never go to the escape room because I think I'm giving some of the stuff away. Well, you'll never figure it out. That it was really hard. We even had to use our clues. But that's the thing. When you're in a good relationship with somebody, that's something that you will do. You'll get to ask for clues, and someone will point you in the right way. When you lose yourself in a relationship, you're the only one there that's there to play. The other person is no longer working with you. They're siphoning your energy and they're making everything your responsibility. And it's not fair. And I literally, I would have never got out of there if I was in there by myself in that escape room. It was such a powerful lesson for me on teamwork. And in any relationship, teamwork is what you should do. Okay, I would have never got out of there, and we wouldn't have got out of there with the other little girl that was in there on the team and her parents, and we wouldn't have got out there with the two doctors, the bestie team, the besties, and myself, and me and my bestie. Each one of us did things. My bestie read the diary out loud, and then her daughter read it again out loud, and then the father read it again out loud, and then we were placing things. We were searching on the bed, and we were getting things wrong, and one of us climbed under, or her daughter climbed under the bed and popped the lock to the closet to get us to the other room, and then the little girl used the shoes to the footprints. I might have just spoiled the escape room for you, but it was, even with me telling you, you would never figure it out. It was wild. We did the musical chairs with the scary like creepy dolls with the heads that turned. So much fun. But the point is this: nothing could have happened. I was like popping combination locks, or roll locks, you know what I mean? We had to line it up and we had to figure it out by putting puzzles together. The way we were able to figure out the first thing was that we had to put puzzles together in order to see the numbers on all these little wooden dolls, in order to for me to roll the lock, in order to open the book that released the diary that led us to the next clues. Everybody had a part to play. Everybody had something to do. If you're in a relationship and it's just you and you're losing yourself too, I mean, you're no longer feeling that intelligent, that smart, that stimulated, and you are losing yourself, because that's what happens when people are ungrateful for your energy. Is you just no longer feel like you have anything to offer, and you start to doubt your precious empath energy. You start to doubt the fact that you can create synergy. I'm in beautiful connections now, and I have lovely people around my life, from actual people I care about, to loved ones, to husbands, to this, that, and the other, you name it. But it's because I divested from people that were trying to defame me and making me feel crazy. They were gaslighting me, guys. A lot of us lose ourselves in relationships where we're gaslighted, where someone's not working with us in any capacity. When I look back on the past relationships that I was in, that I divested from, and especially some significantly, I realize how reluctant and how adamant she was specifically not to work with me. We would have never got out of an escape room ever. The escape room was our relationship. The escape room could have been as simple as a conversation. That was the puzzle piece we had to put together. She refused to do it and then was like, "You're the problem." No. Turns out she's the problem in her life. And in my absence, that's something that she got to have a clear light shined on to see. It was never me. I was trying, I was working and trying and putting the puzzles and trying to climb under the bed and putting the dollhouse pieces and turning off the lightning and the thunder and going through the creepy room. I was doing all the things in somebody's life to try to make our operative word, our relationship right. And they were sabotaging me. That's how you lose yourself, empath, when you're giving away that much energy. That's how you lose yourself. And when I got away from that kind of relationship, turns out the rest of the world wanted to work with me. Turns out new besties were like, "Hey, let's have a conversation." Turns out whether it was easy or not, comfortable or not, we were talking about it and they were figuring it out. We figured out our life. We figured out our desires. We figured out our boundaries. We figured out our hopes and dreams. We claimed each other, if you will. It's an interesting thing when you lose yourself in a relationship. You will think it's a bitter pill, but it's one that you're taking by yourself. In the last few months as I've been recovering, I've been prescribed a lot of pills, and some of them very bitter. Anybody ever taken Flagyl? Literally, I'm like, why don't they have a patent on this where there's a coating? But I know the whole point is for it to get into your system, and it helps with stomach issues, right? And it's so terrible, and it's like terrible, terrible that I had to be prescribed something else to help with the anti-nausea for taking it. Sometimes we're in relationships where we're taking a bitter pill by yourself. No one's sharing that with us, and you will lose yourself in that, thinking like, why is this just me? Why am I the only person that is dealing with this when it's a we? That's what I learned in that escape room this weekend, is that sometimes you can't get out by yourself. I would have never got out by myself, never in a million years. I'd still be sitting in that room today. Okay, yes, it's only 60 minutes, but I still would be sitting in that room today, had it not been for the teamwork. Teamwork really does make the dream work. And you will lose yourself in relationships where someone's not working with you. You cannot carry everything by yourself. It's not something we were designed to do. That's why it's called partnership. I would love for you to take a look at your relationships if they're not healthy for you on 222, and then maybe see if there's a way that you can find your own escape room, your own escape route, your own escape routes that you can get out and figure out what life's really about. You'd be surprised how the world leaps up to meet you and wants to work with you and values you completely. If I would have stayed in that relationship with that person who was so wholly uncooperative, so completely, in my case, unfortunately, racist, so really entrenched in small town and small minded thinking, I would have never blossomed into the person that you hear speaking. This was always there, but I squelched it down when I was in the quote unquote their care. It was no care that they gave. They were so mean. So mean, guys. Some of us will lose ourselves in relationship with people that literally aren't even trying to disguise their cruelty. And then we'll start racking our brain and start gaslighting ourselves and thinking, they would never do this to me, but they're doing it to you actively. When I am transitioning out of relationships and someone's dangerous to me, I get canine images. Speaking of cats that I'm allergic to, cats are not canines, but let me explain. German shepherds, hyenas, wolves. I see the fangs bared back. I no longer, it's because of my psychic gift, but I no longer see the people. I see the cruelty. And that person had morphed into a hyena. She was laughing at me. It was maniacal. And it was from a place of mental illness. Certain animals have that energy, and a hyena definitely. She was a scavenger and filled with disease and all the rest of it. And what I mean by that is spiritual diseases specifically. Those are the ones that I was terrified of. I didn't want it. She was contagious. But being in that relationship had me thinking that I was also not capable of connecting, that I was as antisocial as she was. I'm not. It's important to be set apart, and it's important to understand that you are precious and you have special energy. But it is important to also understand that there's a better way to be. Don't lose yourself with someone who's crazy, who's maniacal. She reminded me of a hyena. I would see her, I would catch her out of the side of my eye, and I would see the, well, a hyena. Yeah. The fangs bared, the yellow teeth. And it wasn't an actual depiction of her. It was her energy. She was not to be trusted. Hyenas are tricksters. A lot of us lose ourselves in relationships with people who are playing tricks on us, on our senses, who are gaslighting us. Please take a look at your situation and see and ask yourself maybe that question. If I was in an escape room with them, would they just sit there and do nothing? Because she sure as hell wouldn't have helped. We'd still be sitting there with the crazy, creepy doll on that shelf. She would have never helped me get out. She didn't help me get out. We were in a labyrinth in our own way, and she stood in every way of every clue and refused to participate, and then said the blame is on you. Can you guys relate? Don't love them so much that you lose yourself. I lost myself completely for a long time and forgot how magical I was and forgot that I had something to offer because I poured so much into someone who was totally never worth it, who didn't deserve it, who didn't earn it, and who didn't value it. Message: don't be me. Preserve your precious empath energy and make sure that you're invested into relationships with people who would help you escape. Even if it's a conversation that's not going great, they will give you context clues. They will cooperate with you. They will work with you. It's really an easy thing to do. In my absence, that person will come upon karmic relationship after karmic relationship after karmic relationship. And it will be her opportunity to really do her shadow work. And what that means is she will have people that don't work with her. She will remember me, who was only asking for cooperation and a mutual shared empath energy. She refused it. She will understand how easy she had it because she'll never have it that easy again. But it's not a place that you should put yourself in, empath. It's not a good position. Yes, I got to be a lesson, but what cost to me? I allowed her to deplete my precious empath energy. I lost myself completely in a relationship. And I had to do it in order to teach this lesson. Sometimes you will need to experience things in order to know what not to do, in order to carry forth so that that reality is never true again for you. Some people you may look back on and say, I taught them a better way. I know for that person, she gets to be ensconced in her misery, but she also understands how easy it can be because we do nothing but leave in our wake lessons and clues. Even to people that are no longer our booze, we left them a lot of clues on a better way to be. Protect your empath energy, move forward, and extract yourself if you're in one of those relationships where you've forgotten who you used to be. Make that somebody that you used to know as you move forward and you actually grow into the person you were always meant to be. You do not deserve stagnancy or an identity crisis because someone refuses to work with you. A little buzzing message of confirmation, one of my favorite things. If you hear that happening during the reading, it's audible confirmation from my angels. It could be anything happening on my device, but what it means is that it's pertinent to your life, so pay attention. I love you guys. Come back and join me next time, and we will continue to evolve together.